Hey, Ancestry has some brand new features and records you're going to want to know about. Now, this includes everything from new features in the messaging system, the DNA matches, StoryScout, new hint features, new MyTreeTags, new records about free and enslaved persons, and new items on the mobile apps. Now, we're going to go over all 9 of them coming up next. Hey, welcome to another episode on Genealogy TV. My name is Connie Knox. I am a lifelong genealogist here to help you go further, faster, and factually with your family history research. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that you don't miss any of these videos. Genealogy TV has a website, a newsletter, and a Facebook page. Make sure you're hooked up with all those. Links are in the description below. Now, there is a handout for the channel members. Click the join button to learn more there. Now, I've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. One of the first things you need to be aware of is that Ancestry has added the ability to bulk add our DNA cousin matches when we're trying to group them together. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. The bulk add is going to be a great feature for those who are doing group matches of their DNA. So to get there again, you would go to the DNA tab, you would drop down to DNA matches, and it takes you to a screen of your DNA matches. I'm going to use Carol here as an example. We would drill through to my relationship with Carol. So from here, we would then go to shared matches. This is where the new feature is really helpful, and obviously I blurred out some names to maintain privacy. So here, Carol and I are DNA matches, and everybody in this list would then descend from the same common ancestors. And so if we wanted to bulk add all of these people to one group that we've created already, we would hit the pencil icon from any of these cousin matches. We would say add to group. And the new part of this feature is that this side panel has popped out. We could add a custom group. That's not new. But what is new is the ability to check mark a lot of people all at the same time and then add them to a specific group. Then we would say add to group, and everybody in the list gets added to that group. That is a big plus. And rumor has it that they are going to add a select all button, so be on the lookout for that so that we don't have to go check down the entire list of cousin matches, that we would be able to hit some sort of select all, which would ripple a check mark into every one of those DNA cousin matches, and then we could add it to the group super fast. That would allow us to really group our DNA cousins by those that we know. Now, if you're totally lost here, go check out the episode on grouping your DNA matches. Okay, so the next one has to do with hinting, and I think you're going to like this. So, as we always do from the tree or anywhere else where it gives us the leaf where we can drill in and look at the hints. Now, when we go to review a hint, we click on the review button and we get this nice side panel that pops out. Well, one of the newest features that they've added again, even further, is the ability, these two little buttons here, to expand this side panel so that we can see even more detail. And then we can scroll down and determine if, in fact, this is our ancestor. So we can sit there and compare right from here in the side panel. This is rather cool. So if we decide that we like this, we can say yes. And then we get additional details. We get our tree information alongside the record details. And we can sit and evaluate it that way. So if we decide that this is correct, then we would save it to our tree with the save button at the bottom. And the newer feature is an edit all. So we can now click on edit all, and we can actually dial in exactly what we want to add to our tree. And if we want to add specific details. One other nice feature about this side panel is the ability to compare right from here. So we could click on this compare details button and get additional information, and we can see more details side by side. So Ancestry's motivation here is really to get us to evaluate records before we just automatically import them. It helps us to really take a look at all the siblings, maybe do a little bit of our fan club research. If you're not familiar with fan club, that's friends, associates, and neighbors, to help tie those records together to make sure that we have the right people. And of course, you can always hit the view button. There's an image available to view. Click the view button and see the actual record, because there's going to be more information in the actual record than what you are seeing in the index, because not everything was indexed. So be mindful of that we really need to be evaluating everything. At least here we can be working through a list of hints with the side panel all at the same time. It's very cool. Okay, so the next item is StoryScout. They've moved StoryScout under the Trees tab. You can find it here at the bottom. And once we are here, they've got some new additions. At first glance, it might be a little challenging to figure out what's what. What I have here are my 4 grandparents on the left-hand side. If you see this little tiny green highlight here is showing that the StoryScout is showing stories for ancestors of my grandmother Helen Marie Simmons. Okay, so I've already imported this one. I have not imported this one, but what I wanted to show you was if you click on a different grandparent, for example, here is my grandfather, and it's now showing me here that this is a StoryScout story that I have not read. For the sake of demonstration purposes, I'm going to jump back to Helen Marie Simmons. I'm going to import this World War I draft card story. Now, this isn't the draft card itself. That draft card actually is over here, and we can learn more about signing up for the draft and the story that goes behind it with this story. Okay, I kind of like this. I want to save it, so I'm going to say save to my tree, and it says before you save, review this content. This little button gives you more information about how to evaluate it. I'm going to save this to my tree, and it says save someone to this tree, and bingo, it's been added to the tree for George Edgar Simmons. And so when I click on that too, it takes me down to the draft registration card. But if I view this now, I get that same story back, but now it says I've saved it to my tree. So the next feature is some additions to the MyTreeTag. So when you're in the tree, you can click and get the little mini menu here and see that in this case, Herman Madsen here has tree tags already attached, okay? In this case, this guy does not have any tree tags for Oliver Booth. So we could then click on the toolbar and click add a tag, and we get these side pop-outs. We're going to talk about the new feature within the tree tags here in just a moment, but I wanted to point out that alternatively, you could actually get to the tree tags also from within the profile by clicking this little tag icon. So the new feature is here with the life experience tags. They've added these new tags as more and more people are working in their family trees, and they're trying to identify enslaved persons, free persons of color, immigrant ancestors, indentured servants, military service, royalty and nobility, and slave owners. These are pretty common tags that Ancestry was seeing, so they have created them. As always, you can create your own custom tag up here. Just by clicking on this button, you can add a custom tag. To do that, all you would do is click that custom tag button and give it a name, and then you would hit create. And now it shows up here. Okay? To remove a custom tag, all you have to do is delete the tag. Say delete. As always, you have these other pre-built tags that you can open and close these boxes and get us, they're basically grouped by categories. So as I'm working my way to the next new feature at Ancestry, I wanted to make you aware of something you may not be aware of that has currently been available that has to do with photographs. So here I am in the gallery of my great-grandmother, Wilhelmina Lee Koss. And if we drill into one of her photographs, you have the ability to share it down here at the bottom. You could share it to Twitter, Facebook, or you could email it to somebody, and you could check somebody, or you could add an email address and hit send. And it says, click here to see what you share. And this is a photograph. This is kind of where it would take you if you were receiving this, and the address in which this little mini URL, if you will, and little tiny web page that has this photograph, and I could create a comment about it. I could also share it out from here. Now, what's new is on the mobile app. So for iPhone users and Android users, you're going to have the ability to share a photograph in a message. It is not available on desktop yet, but it is available coming soon on your mobile device. Now keep in mind that ability to do that in your mobile app, sending a message and attaching a photograph, has to be photographs that are in your Ancestry tree already, attached to a deceased profile. So a person that is deceased, you can send a photograph. If they are still living, you cannot. Lastly, on this photograph thing, you cannot send documents. You can only send photographs that you've uploaded into the gallery that are physically in the gallery. Now, a lot of times in your gallery, it can be confusing if, for example, we've got documents listed here, but like, for example, the 1910 census is actually just a pointer. I didn't upload the 1910 census image. It was part of Ancestry's pointing system. So while it all looks like it's photographs within your documents, these documents here that we imported from Ancestry are just pointing back to the actual microfilm reader, if you will, whereas these other photographs I uploaded myself. Another new feature for mobile users regarding photographs is the ability to compare yourself to a photograph that you have uploaded to Ancestry. It's called Photoline, and Photoline will allow you a side-by-side comparison between you and your, in my case, my mother on the maternal side, or my grandmother. You can skip a generation. Or for males, it would be their father or their grandfather. Okay, so that is coming also if you don't have it already by the time you're watching this. For those researching African American history, there is a bunch of new records, as well as, I don't know if you've seen this website at Ancestry. I will leave a link in the description box about this, but you can scroll through this and learn a little bit more about kind of a step-by-step guide on how to research your family history. But there is also a brand new set of collections coming out of the Danish West Indies collection. They are adding more and more about this. If you're not familiar with the Danish West Indies, it is now known as the U.S. Virgin Islands. That includes the islands of St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. Those islands were originally owned by the Danish, and it was also an immigration point for many of our African American ancestors as they were traveling through, and some of which were part of the slave trade and stayed in these islands. So these records are now available. They are free to everybody. You do not need to have an Ancestry membership to access these records, as Ancestry's policy is any person of enslaved ancestry, all those records are free. Hey, as a reminder, there is a handout for this episode. If you want to learn more, click the join button so that you can get some more information. The handouts are actually in the community tab on the YouTube channel. Look for the ones that say handout in big bold letters, and then click the read more. You got to open that up in order to see the link for the handouts. All right, now feel free to check out these other videos that are on the screen for you now.